Don't look.
Like, really?
Don't look. Stay
No
right
me
there.
dejo
Stay
ver
right there.
nada.
Stay right there. You're gonna love this. And surprise.
Yes.
He's already on his way. We're gonna keep you out of it.
Are you out of your freaking mind? I swear, if I lose my job over this...
It's gonna be fine.
All right, thank you for joining us on the Down and Cut. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Toni Poe. She is a Pacific Northwest-based film and voice actor, artist, author, producer, composer with a diverse background in both creative and business ventures. She has made significant contributions to the art, including her work as a published children's book author, which is amazing, and the producer and host of Healing Hearts Show, while also showcasing her talents in exhibitions across the East and West Coast. Welcome to the Down and Cut, Toni.
Thank you, Joe. How are you?
I'm excited to have you on here. I know we kind of met because of Cousin, but before that, I didn't know you, and you were recommended to me by Giovanni. So
The one and only. That's my dude right there. Yes, and I'm so glad that that we did get to meet and we've gotten to work together, and it's just been a great experience. So thank you, and thank you for having me on the show too.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited for people to really get to know you, and I think that's what our key thing is. So we're going to kind of go down this rabbit hole of kind of focusing on the acting aspect, because what we're really here to do is really kind of focus on newcomers into the acting world, or people who have been around the acting but just haven't got to know who their peers are, and on top of that, even directors to know who's available out there. So tell me, how did your journey start into the creative domain?
So I've been a creative all my life, and I come from a creative family. Like my grandma sang, played piano. My mom sings. I just been around like a lot all my life. My siblings, everything, and even like my children are like artists too. So, but that journey started when I was about 3. I learned to play the piano when I was like 3 years old. And my auntie taught me, and she was a very prolific piano player. She played in church, and stuff like that. My Aunt Pat, and it just went from there. Like I said, my grandma was a creative too, and she would encourage me to, have free play, read, do creative things. So she put me in like a lot of creative activities, and I think it just started from there, and like doing art, drawing, and just creating things. I think that's the thing that has been consistent through just like the years, through everything I've done. I've tried to express my creativity in doing things. So that's kind of like when it started, when I was little.
What about the path? Because I mean, you have different avenues. You're a composer, right?
Yeah.
You're a writer, an author.
There's a lot of stuff.
How did that happen? What path was first, and how did it go into the other ones?
I'd say my first path was probably with music, and doing just different instruments and things like that. And my grandma would watch a lot of films and like a lot of old shows. And I remember very vividly watching like shows like Carol Burnett and things like that. And they were just always so I don't know. I just love their creative spirit. I don't know. It was just inspirational for me.
Did that
And
spark like acting then? Is that what
yeah,
sparked that kind of
yeah, it
that
did.
avenue?
Yeah,
Okay.
it did because I was always like I would love to do that, you know. And I would like read to my siblings. I don't know if you remember or not, maybe not, but they used to have like a series of Disney books.
Hmm.
And so I would read them, but I would read them in the like different characters' voices or what I thought the characters would sound like. So
That's
that's how I
awesome.
would read to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's actually how I started doing different voices for stuff.
Oh, so you actually went into voice acting first?
Well, no, it was just for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just for them. When I was little, I was being the Wicked Witch, and I was being Snow White, and I was being the dwarves, or I was being whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever I needed to be to like entertain them and kind of keep them busy.
So when did it start become like a more serious craft for you then?
For the voice acting, I won't say all my life, but I would say within the past 5 years, I'd say.
Okay.
I did voices for a couple of universities for like announcing special events. I did some voice things for a company that is it's non-existent now, but it's called XOD, Experience on Demand Network. That was actually started by my ex-spouse and some of his very good friends. So I did some things for that, hosting and things like that.
Did that come first before film?
That came before film. I only did like background stuff in film before. Well, I won't say only background because background is important. I mean, but that was kind of the extent of things that I did, back before then.
Yeah, I think a lot of us started in background. I think I did. And that's when you started getting your chops and actually being able to observe and see what the actors are doing and, the leads and the production crew and stuff. But so you did voiceover and then you were starting new to background. Was that like simultaneously you were doing both?
No, yeah, well, I guess. I mean, my life was probably so compartmentalized with different things that I was doing. Yeah. So they all kind of happened kind of around the same time, and then I would delve into something more strongly for a while. And then something else at another time. It just depended on because I was still raising my kids.
Yeah.
I was still raising my kids, and I was actually homeschooling my son. So it was when I could do things. When I could do things, it was a creative outlet for me. It was actually like healing for me because I felt like maybe I was like losing myself a little bit and doing all these other things,
For everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just such a joy to me.
When did you start becoming like auditioning for actually roles? When did that process happen? And then did you go through any kind of training, acting training, or were you just a natural?
I mean, I've always like tried to absorb things. Like if I saw someone that was like really dynamic in roles and things like that, I would see, like what was their approach? What were they thinking? How did they feel? Where did they pull from? And I would just kind of absorb that. That's pretty much. I haven't really had like formal training per se.
Mm-hmm. So you're natural.
Well, I don't know. Someone might say that.
Well, I mean,
just kind of jump in and do what I do, I guess.
I think what I'm going at is, so we've had a lot of different actors or combined people who have gone through the official training or workshops or college or started in high school. And then you've had some that just did a 48-hour and they're like, hey, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And then that's how they start. And so I think it's important for people to understand that there is no right way, with no right path to go down, as long as you're practicing, right? As long as you're acting and stuff. Okay, so you said you got into voice acting about 5 years ago. Is that the same thing as film acting as well?
Probably 4 years on the film acting, on the interest in doing that.
Yeah.
Like, and I actually started really film acting when I came here, and that was only like 3 and something years ago.
Came here from where?
From Maryland.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I drove across, and I had my choice to live in Oregon, where my cousins are, California, where my brother is, or Washington. And like, I'm like a rain lover and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't even rain here that much, so here we go.
Raining.
That. But
It's raining now.
Yeah, I knew that there was like a creative space here, and the friend that I had that kind of convinced me to come out here, said, just try it, like what can hurt, and if you feel like you don't want to be here after a while, then just go, just like go to California or to be in another creative space. And I drove almost 3,000 miles, and I got here, and I never left. And I've created so many bonds and friendships, and there have been so many opportunities here to meet other people that are helping people. So that's just like really attractive to me. And I'm here. So yeah.
So you said California was one of the options. How come you didn't choose California, knowing that's LA and there's that's the hub?
Because I wanted to strike out on my own, do something different. My kids were grown up, and I said, I'm gonna just explore a little. You know what I mean? Just explore different things. Like I said, my brother's already in California, so I could just go there. I could just fly there if I want to. And I wanted to just be in just like a different place that wasn't so different from home.
Okay.
But because I like the real mix of like rural areas and like the suburbs and things like that. Because I kind of grew up like in country life, sort of. I was born and raised in Delaware, so there wasn't much going on back then.
So now we fast forward into the acting domain, what you've been doing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What makes a good actor?
I think what makes a good actor is, number one, paying attention to the surroundings of what's going on in the scene, what's going on in the room, dedicating yourself to learning as much of the character as you can, or putting parts of yourself into the character. Like things that resonate with you within that character. Pull from those things. Like I said, I was looking at people like Viola Davis, and I love actually Lawrence Fishburne too, and like different actors like that. It always seems like they pull from some experience deep inside, and I found that happens to me too. And I can't explain if it's in like a mechanical way what happens, but it just when something clicks with you, it comes through you. And sometimes you feel things that you didn't think you would feel. When you pull up when you pull up like the related things, you wouldn't think of like some of the memories that are triggered and things like that. And it just kind of starts just flowing. So I think that an important thing for actors is to also flow, not to force things.
How is your perspective working with directors?
I love to see the director's vision, for what they want to execute and what story they're trying to tell. And my perspective is that, I don't know. I just respect that a lot, that they're even willing to put their vision on the line, to be scrutinized or to be criticized or to, or whatever. So, I mean, I just really respect that a lot. And I think that I love when directors listen. I love when they embrace maybe who they choose to embody whatever role. I think it takes a lot of courage to do that. because I don't know. Sometimes you don't know how it'll turn out, especially like if you don't know the person. Like
Yeah.
like maybe you've seen like a couple of their things or something, but you don't really know the person. You don't know their personality. You don't know if you can really work with them. But directors take this big leap, to do that and execute the vision. So I don't know. I think that's pretty dope.
Well, that's kind of our situation when I first
Yeah.
met you, right? Because we never worked with each other before,
Hmm.
and it was. I think that you're right when the way you describe it, because when we did, and I apologize because your scene was kind of isolated. You weren't with everyone else, but when we did our scene,
Hmm.
there was all I needed to do was tell you a few things, and something clicked, and you got it, and you can totally see it in your eyes. And I was like, "That's it. It's beautiful. We got it."
Oh, that's because you opened like your full vision to me. You know what I mean? That has a lot to do with it. It really does. It's kind of like it's not even like you were like super strict. Do it this way. That's what I need. You weren't like that. You were like, well, why don't we think of this, or why don't we think of that? Why don't you ease into it a different way? That helped me a lot.
Awesome.
So yeah. So thank you for that, and for
Oh,
giving me the chance to be in the film. That's
oh
so
yeah.
great.
And now we have a relationship, so now we're going to be doing more stuff, which is, I
Yeah.
mean, you got to build a team. I think that's one thing that I've noticed a lot of indie filmmakers. I mean, this is my only second film, so I noticed that, and obviously this is not about me, but I noticed a lot of people continue to work with the same people over and over
Mhm,
and over to kind of
mhm,
massage different stories and stuff. So I
mhm.
think that's awesome. Um, all right, back on track. So, Toni, your career spans across various creative disciplines from acting to composing music. How do you approach balancing these different forms of artistic expression? And then, do they ever influence each other in unexpected ways?
Oh, they do all the time. Um, yeah, they do influence each other, and a balance to me, I don't know, may not be balanced to someone else. So I can't really say what someone would do in a balanced way. Um, because I feel like my brain is kind of like an octopus. So it does this, and then if I get an inspiration, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So I guess I'm like the little tinkering lady in the shop, that does this and says, oh, that'll work here, and let me do that. So
Yeah.
actually, with my children's books, um, I wrote and illustrated them, and they came from actual dreams that I had. I pull a
Oh,
lot of
interesting.
inspiration from dreams that I have.
Yeah.
I find that my dreams are like really creative for some reason, probably because I don't have 20,000 different things going on around me, and I'm just in a restful state.
Hmm.
So yeah, my book Sow a Seed. And really it's about sowing seeds of kindness and things like that. But I said I'd really love to animate this. Um, and I'm kind of still working on that because I'm not the greatest animator. But that made me think, okay, I can't animate this right now, but how can I get it to where someone can, like let their kids watch it and listen to it, just like a storybook.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, well, I'll voice it, and then I'll
Nice.
write music to it and in sound effects with it and stuff like that. So that's one of the examples of how things like kind of merge for me, and they kind of feed each other.
How many
So
voices did you do for the book?
for that book, probably, I mean, at least 10.
Wow.
Because some of them were like creature voices because it's about aliens.
Yeah.
So there are different kinds of voices in there. So yeah.
That's awesome. Can you tell us about your role as Lily in the film Cloud Chamber: The Folded World, and the
Ah,
unique challenges you had to face portraying her?
so it was actually a very short scene. And I got the pleasure and honor to work with Karen Wetterhahn, and I worked with Giovanni Vasquez and Valerie Ibarra. So we were in that scene together, which was already cool because we're already like this, and very comfortable with each other. So I think that I had to like kind of channel another person, if that makes sense, for that, because it was like kind of like a cute little scene, and we were like amazed, like like, oh, that kind of thing. And I mean, obviously, like a lot of people don't know me, but me, and I'm pretty low key. You know what I mean? I'm pretty like, okay, like kind of observant and things like that. So that kind of like made me pull from a, like a different place. So, but it was fun though. It was really fun. Yeah.
I think the low keyness kind of helps, though. I think that eliminates some of. I mean, allows us to kind of collaborate more, versus talking over each other and stuff. So, was it Homesick? You played an office worker in a story that deals with themes of isolation and belonging. How do you personally connect with these themes, and how did you bring that connection into your performance?
Okay, so actually for Homesick, I just actually did I was just actually enlisted as background, so I didn't really do anything. But yeah, I'd say I took more of a involved role in well, number one, a film called Worms. I know it sounds so weird, but I was an alien infected lady, and did something crazy to my family, and
that's a common theme.
Oh boy, that was challenging to me. Even though like I love playing like the off kilter things like that, because it's like not me. Yeah. So it's really fun to like just be like, like wild and crazy.
What was challenging about it? And that was, for the fact that it's not you.
Well,
and how did you deal with it?
I just did super extreme movement, behavior. I ended up having to like kind of stunt fall probably like 10 or so times, like to like fall to the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, so that kind of like, I'm not 20 years old anymore. So it's kind of hard to like keep doing that, keep doing things like that over and over again. I'm actually thinking about doing stunt school so I can fall better. Yeah. I think that would be probably very helpful.
I've done that.
But just things like that. I think, because I think to me, extremes are funny. I mean, like, well, not funny in the sense like, haha, but funny, like how will I do this? You know what I mean? Like, what can I possibly be thinking of to be able to get, like to give something out of myself? I don't know. It's so interesting.
I think one of the things it kind of reminds me, because one of the things that I think the reason why, I mean, I'm an actor too, so understanding how to break down a character is really just kind of taking things apart and saying, how does it work? And then putting it back together and then putting your little piece in there. It just makes me think of, there's a joy into dissecting a character and going, well, why, and how does that work?
The dissection.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
So a blind play of social forces has given you the chance to explore a podcast format as well as traditional acting. How does your approach differ when you're acting for an audio-only medium versus an on-screen role?
For me, even when I'm doing audio, I'm still using my whole body to do things. Because I'm just in that zone. Like for me, when I'm doing a character, even when I'm like just voicing a character and nobody sees me, I'm still that person or that, that character, that whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it just, there's eye contact obviously with, acting, film acting, but I still kind of feel the same emotion when I'm voicing something. Because I know it has to feel genuine and they can't see my face. So right. I'm going to have to be probably extra vocal or, extra expressive in my vocalizations for that. So.
That makes sense. I mean, it's similar to what theater, right? Because if you're in theater, you're overemphasizing, but then when you're on film, you're toning it down and
Kind
making
of.
it more
Mm-hmm.
subtle, right? But voice acting, it sounds like you're kind of bringing it up a level to get
Mm-hmm.
that across, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. For sure.
With your extensive experience in short films like the Yellow Shoes, Double
Yeah.
Booking, what do you find most compelling about short film format, and how do you convey a complete narrative in such a limited time frame?
I think that it is, well, especially if it's a thing like a short. So Yellow Shoes was, it's probably a feature film. It's not done yet. It's still in post.
Oh,
Yeah, but I found that compelling and impactful, I guess. Just doing it, just doing the work. Because I wasn't even there for the whole production. Let's just say that. I had certain scenes in it. And I was kind of like I wouldn't say like den mother, but I was kind of that type of personality.
a den mother's
Yes,
like what,
yes,
nurturing?
yes.
Yeah.
Nurturing, concerned, kind of motherly, but not a
Hmm.
mother. If that makes sense. So, but just to see, how the people were, that were working with me. Everyone was just so immersed in this little world that was created by Sophia Sambo. Um, and it just felt like, so like we were in the woods. The setting has a lot to do with it too, like where you're
Sure.
filming. But we were in the woods, and it was like really like we were in a um, oh gosh, it's not a cult, but it's a,
Like a
I cannot remember.
commune?
A commune.
Yeah.
It was based on like a commune. So I don't know. It just felt like really real. But it's not just like, I'm not saying this because it's just like me myself, but I'm saying the energy that I got from everyone that was there, and the frame of mind that they were in, and how serious they were about what was happening. That like helped me elevate. It helped
Yep.
me be a better. My name was Cedar in the film, but it helped me be a better Cedar.
Yeah, I can relate. I think it's important to, when you're working and you work with actors who really know their craft, it really does kind of elevate each other, and it starts to kind of. And I've had that with Philip Wheeler, when we first worked on Western
It's
Soul.
amazing.
He
Yeah.
had that level, and all it did was just made me better, right?
Hmm.
Because that's the only place you can go.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
I think we all make each other better, in our
yeah,
experience. And as long as you keep working with people to like kind of like check your ego at the door, please, or don't. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're not above anyone. We are collaborating to create something beautiful. You know what I mean?
yep,
And you nailed that perfectly. It's about the energy, the
yeah.
exchange of energy.
So, in working with a large, diverse cast, how do you find your individual voice and presence in ensemble projects?
Huh. Well, I would say that I'm the kind of person that like kind of feels people out. If that makes sense. I go off of their not their, well, I guess maybe their aura, of how they relate to their character. That helps
Mhm.
me fit better inside that, in whichever scene or production or whatever. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Did I answer your question?
You're like,
Oh,
I just feel it. I feel it, and then
yeah.
that's where we go.
So
But I
like,
mean, I think it's and I'm gonna talk about diversity, because you and I have a diverse background. How do you kind of bring your voice into a larger group? Does the fact that you're different ethnicity, is that in the back of your head, or is it this fact that you just don't think about that and you're just kind of blending in? Like, how does that work for you?
I mean, no, I don't really. I mean, sometimes I see it, but sometimes I really don't because, well, I grew up in a place where there were like different people, like from everywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like a little melting pot.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you
Yeah.
have your diehards that don't love any kind of diversity or any kind of creativity or any kind of going outside the paradigm. You know what I mean? Like breaking that.
Yeah.
But no, it's just because I love so many people and so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't really. No, it's energy for me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you can tell when you go into a room if someone doesn't really care for you, even if they don't know you. It's just something that people put off, like how some people could be just like so embracing, and that makes you have a kind of a different kind of performance than if you're met with like vitriol at the door.
Right.
And I mean, I've been in situations like that, but eventually you just let the vitriol just roll off your back because that's not what you're there for. You're there to create. You're there to have a good time. You're there to help, get a project done,
Mm-hmm.
and help the director tell a story.
Have you ever got on set and had a character that you're supposed to be close with, friendly with, and all that, but the actual actor wasn't like that with you?
No,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
I've had people that okay, so I'm kind of a chatty person. Once I get to know you, I'm pretty chatty, but some people are just not. They're just not as open, and that's okay because they're allowed to preserve their energy any way they want to. That has nothing to do with me, you know. All I can do is just accept them for who they are and hope that maybe they will open up, once we see each other more than 2 times or, you know.
Yeah.
I hope that for people because it's such a beautiful thing to be able to open up. I know everybody's not there though.
Right.
So I can't judge them, but it's just the energy is like a little weird at first, and then it clicks that everybody's not the same. They're not gonna be the same on set. They might have been having a bad day. You don't know what's happening in people's lives. So
Yeah.
you can't, you just hope like maybe they have a better day. And I don't like really to work with like mean people per se. So, so I definitely, I definitely ask if if there's someone that's, there's like like a showrunner or whatever that's doing something like, yeah, because it's a small world kind of out here. So somebody has worked with someone, you know what I mean?
All right.
At
Right.
some point, and I'm just like, yeah, maybe that's not for me, So
Yeah.
I try to be where the good energy is, and hopefully bring some good energy with me too. So,
You do. I've
oh,
noticed that. Yeah.
thank you.
Your voice acting work in I Feel Like I'm Dying shows a different side of your talent. How do you prepare for voice roles, especially when you're conveying complex emotions without the visual element?
I just number one, I read the script. For I Feel Like I'm Dying, I was actually there, seeing them film it,
Mm-hmm.
so that helped me. Number one, get into that the space, get into that mental space, and thinking about like what that wife would say to someone that well she's gone now, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just thinking like when people pass away, right? Do you ever think about like if they regretted something that they didn't say, or if
Oh, yeah.
they wish they had, you know what I mean? So that was kind of my mind frame for that.
That definitely changes the tone when you think of it that way. When it's like, oh, I should have said this, or I wish I would have said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as an exhibiting artist and author, in addition to your acting career, do you see your work in a visual and literary arts as extensions of your storytelling through film? And how do these different mediums help you express your ideas?
I think that, well, okay, first of all, can you repeat the question? Because I want to make sure that I answer you.
Yeah. So, as an exhibiting artist and author, in addition to your acting career, do you see your work in visual and literary arts as an extension of your storytelling through film?
I do, actually. Like I said, everything is kind of connected. Like it's all connected inside my brain. Now sometimes it's hard getting it out. So I might leave a certain medium alone for a while or something like that. But it is an extension, and it's an extension of not only that, but like things that have been poured into me by those who raised me, like like my ancestors, my family, my friends, things that people pour into me. I don't feel like they're just for me, if that makes sense. And I feel like they're giving me a gift, so I can radiate that, to others. So,
what is the most surprising lesson that you've learned from your roles in the film industry, particularly when moving between indie projects and larger productions?
So the most interesting lesson is that I feel like even though you might want to contribute to certain things in a certain way, doesn't mean that the powers that be want you to do that. So that's why when I observe people, then that kind of helps me. And I've noticed that, like I need to discern whether like to say something. If I know that something's going to like mess up a like something like continuity, like a major continuity thing or something like that, I might like say, say to the PA, I don't know if if this is a concern, but you might want to, tell the director, whatever, chain of command thing. But, or if it's in an open, familiar environment, then obviously I'll tell them. But sometimes people don't want to know, and that's okay. I can try to be helpful, but like if I see something like blaring that it's going to give them like a problem in edit, why wouldn't I want to help them not do that?
Is that more when you're saying with like shorter, when you're doing a short film, it's more flexible versus larger productions? More larger productions are more.
Well, sometimes yes. It just depends on really who's doing it and what their personality is, know. But if they have a huge team, then hopefully someone's telling them that.
Do you like working with productions that have larger teams or productions that have smaller teams, or does it even matter?
So it does matter on a certain level. I do like being involved with like all types of projects, but the independent projects that are smaller are like just like so intimate to me and so heartfelt. And a lot of them are like personal experiences that they want to portray because there's like maybe they haven't heard of any other outlet doing that. Or they haven't seen a film like that and they want to bring awareness to something or things like that. So I enjoy that a lot. I enjoy the intimacy. I enjoy getting to know the creators of things and the directors of things. And because it helps me learn too, like we're still learning every day. We're still learning about other people, about the world, about how we can help, do things. That's important. That's valuable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Valuable. Yeah. So smaller productions, I think I really love.
Now you've brought it up a couple of times in our conversation about personalities. Have you ever been casted into a set, a short film production, whatever, and you found that there just wasn't a good personality presence there, a good aura, like the producer, director, other actors?
Well, yeah.
What
Okay,
do you do?
so I will. So what I'll say is this: it was a very strange environment, and I was brought on for one thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of turned into something else, and I was like kind of excited. And then what I didn't do is ask questions. I should have asked more questions. So there was a situation where we were on a set and some unexpected things like kind of happened on set that was part of the film, and we were just all like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening right now. That kind of like I can't delve into exactly what it was, but
yeah.
Have you just been in a weird situation where like you've committed to do something, right? and you're not being physically harmed or anything, but it's just like, I can't believe they just did that. And it's like, you're not going to walk out on it because you've made the commitment, obviously. But it was just a weird situation. And so I ask things now, I ask to, like, especially like things like nudity. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Sorry. So things like that. If they say nudity, then I'm asking, what do you mean by nudity? What extent of nudity do you mean?
Right.
Because that was a pretty wild situation. Let's just say that.
And the script didn't. But the script didn't have the details in there of what had happened.
No, because we didn't see the whole script. We were extras there, but we were kind of like featured extras. But it was more us doing like reaction to things like that. It was just weird.
And then you got shocked.
I don't know what to say, Joe. It was just weird. So
no, I get it. You were taken by surprise, and they may have kept it from you on purpose, so that
energy was.
Yeah.
Just we talk about it to this day, and it's really it's hilarious now, but it wasn't really hilarious at the time. It was just like, what is this?
It's one of those stories.
Yeah. So that I think that was the kind of like the weirdest thing on set. That it was kind of like the energy was just like kind of okay.
So it sounds like even though you run into circumstances like that, you still are going to do your job no matter what. You're a professional.
Yes, I am.
And get the job done. You're not going to go, all right, I'm out of here. Forget this.
Yeah. I mean, unless someone's being harmed, then I can't, you know what I mean? Because that kind of thing doesn't leave my mind if someone's being like actually harmed. But that was just super weird for me, that situation.
So looking ahead, what projects or roles are you most excited about, and what new artistic challenges are you hoping to tackle in the future?
So I'm actually getting ready to work on a film of a friend of mine that I was actually working with her in 2 different other productions. But it's her film house, so she's producing the film. And it's a compelling story. Obviously, I can't say anything about it now, but it's a kind of a real life sort of thing, and it's a societal issue. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to doing that, to being in that film. My role is short, but it's impactful, and even when we were just rehearsing, it just like it made me want to cry because these things happen in life, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then there was another one that actually was just in a couple weeks back, and it was about someone's personal experience in it's like a gender-based type of film, and it was about their experience. So that will be coming out soon, hopefully. I don't know, but like I said, being on set with people and seeing the director's vision, and the writer's vision and things like that. Those are the things that are most impactful to me. The things that I'm excited about. And I'm also excited about the next installation of Cousin, or the related tale to Cousin.
Oh, because I was waiting for you to plug the project that you're working on. What is it? What's the one that you're...
my anthology?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm actually doing an anthology, and it's going to be you know how most anthologies are like typically 4 parts. I might have 4 or 5, I don't know, but it deals with loss, it deals with grief, it deals with friendship, it deals with self-esteem. So there will be like little vignettes of things. Mm-hmm. And about people's experiences through those things and how certain people deal with things. And one of them that I really like is like kind of like really, it has a really unexpected kind of ending. But in that process, it shows it's grief. It's about grief, and shows how the character deals with that, or doesn't deal with it however you want to interpret it. Once you see it, I guess you'll do that on your own.
Interesting.
But, yeah. And then another one is about friendship. So that one's kind of about loss.
Where can people find the anthology? What? Because you guys are.
I mean, I'm just
Some
in
of the-
pre-production right now.
Okay.
So when I do release it, I'll release it likely on YouTube. But I may try to do some festivals.
Yeah.
And guess who's the expert on that I'm going to ask advice from? Zero Downing.
So what is your role in it? What is it called? First of all.
Well, I haven't named it yet.
Okay.
I'm producing it.
You're producing
So,
it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm producing
Awesome.
it. I will probably act in one of them,
Mm-hmm.
the one that's most personal to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's such a wealth of talent here in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm definitely going to be enlisting people.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a super low budget. So I'll probably be asking for some volunteers, but there's some really dope people here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it. I've gotten the screenplays done for them already. So
Nice.
it's just a matter of putting together teams.
Did you write it too?
Yes.
Okay, so you're more than a producer. You're actually the writer. Are you going to be the director?
For at least 2 of them.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
See, now we're opening up this envelope. We're like, oh, okay, you're more than just a producer. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to create content that can help people think of things in a different way.
Yes. That's our goal.
Yeah, like think of things unconventionally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's not one path. Just like you said, there's not one path, one straight pathway. There are so many ways that different people can get there. We all have different brains. We all have different ways we were raised. We all have, different experiences in life. So we're all going to navigate things differently, Yep. So you were like 100% spot on with that, I think.
I put on my Facebook page, my little theme, and it says, it's all about perception. It's always about perception. And that's what changes is everyone's perceptions. And I think that's, it's important. I mean, it's important to listen to the other side of different perceptions, even if you don't agree with it, because you may learn something. You might find out why. Where does that come from? Where does this thought come from? So I think it's really important. So I'm excited to hear more. When you're ready, come back on the channel and let's plug it.
Thank you. Will you promise me one thing though?
What's that?
Will you go on Healing Hearts?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay. Good. Okay. That's plan.
All right. So we're going to be docking the ship here. I got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite film tech? Now that you're creating something, what have you found that you really enjoy when it comes to technology and filmmaking? I just enjoy
things like Adobe, and sound, the sound mixing and stuff like that.
Adobe Audition.
Yes, Adobe Audition.
Mm-hmm.
I love Premiere Pro. I started to try to get into DaVinci. I just don't have the time capacity for that right now. So, and I'm getting ready to start another semester in October. So, so yeah. So I'm just trying to make everything work, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of like getting bits and pieces.
What are you going to school for?
I'm just finishing a humanities. It's
nice.
Yeah, arts and humanities. So
awesome.
Finishing that, just fulfilling a promise to myself that I would get it done.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'll tell you a little tidbit. You know why I made Cousin?
Tell me.
So I can learn how to use DaVinci.
Uh-huh.
That's what I did. I thought if I'm going to learn how to use an editing, I mean, I know Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro is what I really started on. Mm-hmm. But I thought, I need to learn how to use DaVinci. How do I learn how to? Well, I'll do a project, and I'll edit everything on it in DaVinci, and that's why the color correcting is so bad.
Oh my gosh! But you know what? I love that about you because you just jump in. You're just what can I do? Let me make film.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Let's That's how I learn the most. Is if I have a project that involves learning a new skill, then I'll plug it in. But if it's like opening a book, reading about it, it's not going to work for me. I have to use it. Yep.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on AI when it comes to the film industry?
So AI can be useful in some ways. I really don't want it to replace people, and that's how it seems like it's going right now. But there's so much creativity that AI could never do. AI doesn't have a soul. We have souls. We have so many different nuances about us. And I think that eventually, hopefully, people will understand that those differences in us are important. The similarities in us are important too, but it's how we weave them together with each other, with our human minds, our embracing of others. Those are things that AI can never do. So,
empathy. Yep. Toni, how can people reach you?
So you can go to my website, www.tonipoe.com, TONIPOE. You can follow my Healing Hearts channel, my Heart of Light channel, on YouTube. So if you look up Healing Hearts with Toni Poe, that'll pop up for you. You can hit me on LinkedIn under Toni Poe. You can see my IMDb. I guess I'll put out some links there. You can follow me on Instagram, artist Toni Poe on Instagram. So reach out if you're a creative. Reach out if you'd love to be on my Healing Heart show. If you have an impactful story that can help someone else, and you'd love to come volunteer and talk to me. And yeah, pretty much. I'm in the PNW, so you guys can find me somewhere. We'll link somewhere.
We'll link all of the links in the show notes. And the PNW. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that like that.
Oh, yeah. Pacific
all right.
Northwest.
Thank you, Toni. I appreciate your time and being on the Downing Cut. And again, when you're ready for the anthology, we'll pull it up. Let's do a promotion. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Downing Cut. I appreciate you joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed the episode, drop a comment with your thoughts and share questions you think I should be asking the guests. Your feedback helps shape the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.